All right, everybody, welcome to my video on vehicle acquisition via wholesale units. So right there. So the purpose of this is obviously to talk to you a little bit about what I can do and a little bit of history on how you can. Hey everybody, welcome to vehicle acquisition via wholesale units. The purpose of this is just going to be to talk you through what my purchase program looks like for those of you who are looking to get involved in purchasing vehicles on the wholesale marketplace. So I'm going to try and just one take this thing, so bear with me if I say something stupid or snot flies out of my nose or something like that. I'm not editing any of that out, so this is one shot, one kill for this whole video setup. So right now you got my face on the screen. I am going to move my face off this screen here because I can't do both for some reason. I can't have my face and my PowerPoint up here. So let's check this out. You know, obviously, if you got any questions, you can email me, Sean@csusave.com. Leave some questions in the comments. Find me on Facebook. Most of you folks that are here know how to get a hold of me anyway. So yeah, let's go from there. What you got over here is a little bit of back history on me. So this is on all my slides, all my presentations. This is just the garbage about me, when I started, how long I've been doing it. If you want to read about it, just pause it and read it because I'm not going to waste time going over this thing. I've been doing this for a long time, and it's almost too long. It's pretty much all I know, and I hope at some point to be able to maybe not be doing this anymore, but I'm not 100% confident on whether or not that's going to happen or not. So I may end up doing this till the day I'm in the grave. So let's talk about how you can do this deal. So essentially there's a couple ways that you can purchase wholesale. You can get your own dealer's license. You can go out and you get a license and you can create your own situation, whether you want to be a wholesale dealer or a retail dealer. And to do that, you got to get licensed through your state. Licensing through your state is the only way to do it. There's a community of folks out there who will curbstone, and curbstone is just industry term for buying and selling without actually being a dealer. There's a lot of communities out there and municipalities out there who are really cracking down on this, and there's some pretty big fines involved in this. So if you're going to do this stuff at any level, if you're involved in Turo or car sharing on any level, you really need to be in a situation where you are selling, or if you're putting yourself in a situation where you have to buy and sell more than your state limit per year, it's best to have a way out of that. There's various ways to handle that. That's kind of a subject that will be handled in other videos. But for now, your wholesale or retail sales license is something you can certainly do on your own. You don't need me to do that. I do consulting for that kind of thing. We get businesses to go from being small startup Turo hosts, any sort of car sharing host, and build them into you know, full-fledged rental car businesses where they get the actual dealer's license through the state. Obviously, your local requirements are going to vary. You got to look into that and figure out if it's going to be right for you. If this is the path that you're going to take, you really have to look into all the kind of the semantics that go along with this, and your place of business, the kind of operating hours you're going to have. There's certain testing, certification you have to get through. You know, net worth. There's bonds. There's overhead. There's just a nightmare. There's a nightmare, literally, of things that you get involved with to own your own dealership. Ask me how I know. So the facts are that this, while it is a viable way to do it, to be able to purchase on the wholesale market, it's a little more in depth than I feel like a lot of folks want to get. So that's kind of why we offer the ability to purchase this stuff cheaper. Obviously, along with the fact that if you've started up your own retail or wholesale dealership, you're going to have another full-time job. If you don't have a full-time job now, you're probably on the way to turning one of your car sharing endeavors into a full-time job. That's probably why you're watching this video or any of the others. But suffice to say, that is certainly a viable way to do it. But this is an all-encompassing way to do it. So how do I do it? We've got a couple of different programs. The first one I talk about, this is auction purchase program, where essentially you're just purchasing vehicles through my dealership at various auctions. I would say for the purpose of argument and for this presentation, we're going to talk exclusively about Manheim auctions. They seem to be the easiest for me to get folks to work with. They have the best search techniques. They have the best save techniques. They have the best proxy bidding techniques. You'll become familiar with that the further down the road you get this purchasing deal. So let's talk about the pros of the auction purchase plan. Initially, the idea is to get you to save money. And that's why the first thing listed up there is save money. These are going to be cheaper than the majority of the retail opportunities that you as a retail buyer have. Craigslist, dealerships, Facebook Marketplace, any of the places, eBay, any of the places you're buying your vehicles at. I like to say that usually the worst deal through me is better than the best deal through any of these avenues. While it's not necessarily always true, it's more often than not the situation. Obviously, there's less pressure on this. You're not going to be I'm not going to run you across the coals, try to grind you about trying to get every dollar out of you and trying to sell you warranties and everything that goes along with the retail nightmare. So this isn't a pressure sale situation. I handle enough clients to where I'll open your business. You let me know when you're ready to purchase something. We move out there and we'll go buy the thing. We'll put a good bid on it and try to get it owned for you. Obviously, you get guidance from an industry professional. That's me. I've been doing it a long time. I like to consider myself a professional, although some days you still get to make those novice mistakes, and that's part of the game. The car dealer game is tough. Buying and selling cars is it's almost as much witchcraft as it is science. So you learn from this. But my currently 25, 26 years in the business as a licensed dealer, and I was doing it for 5 years before that when I didn't know what I was doing. Maybe I still don't, but it's kind of given me that insight into the world of car dealing so that I can give you those kind of real-time ideas as to where we should be, what you should be looking to do, and what you should be trying to spend on particular cars, what fleet to look for, and such. When you're purchasing through this program, when you're buying at, say, Manheim Auto Auction, they've got just various guarantees. These guarantees, 9 times out of 10, are going to exceed, every time out of 10, they're going to exceed the guarantees you get from buying from Joe Schmo on Craigslist. The guy on Craigslist, after you buy it, you own it. That car is as is. Because you get in it and you put your foot in it and you hit the gas and you drive it, you get to feel a little bit better about the car, but the facts are after you own it, it's as is. Same thing goes for car dealership vehicles. If you purchase a vehicle at a car dealership, same situation. After you get in there and you own it, it is as is. Lemon laws, there's lemon laws out there. Lemon laws only cover new vehicles. They do not cover used vehicles that I'm aware of in any state. Lemon laws are purely for new vehicles purchased that have to be returned 3 or more times, and the dealer's forced to buy them back. So effectively, any vehicle you purchase from a dealership is going to be as is, with the exception of any in-house warranty or any state laws that require them to cover the vehicle with a warranty. Certain states out there require that they pass certain inspections and such, but for the most part, the guarantees that you get through Manheim are going to be better than most everything else you get out there. The inventory that we source through Manheim is tens of thousands of vehicles, literally tens of thousands of vehicles. And when you get to searching on the site, you'll see exactly what's in there. And it includes real-time vehicle valuations. There's an application that lives within Manheim called Manheim Market Report, or MMR. We'll talk about that a lot. And it essentially gives you the value of the vehicle that is similar to that has been sold in the marketplace over the last, say, 30 days. I'm not 100% sure if it's 30 days, but it feels like every time I look at MMR, it's about 30 days worth of data tracking. We'll show some stuff on that here pretty soon, too. So next up on how can I do it, let's talk about the cons. So for a lot of you guys, the touch and feel isn't there. If you're missing that touch and feel, folks get a little uncomfortable with that. It's easy to see how car dealerships do such good business, even when you're spending so much more money on the vehicle, because they have everything that you need. You know what I mean? You walk in, you talk to these folks, and you get the feel that they know you, they like you, whatever situation it is. You just feel better about it. The coffee bar. I don't have a coffee machine. You're not going to sit down in my office and we're not going to shoot the breeze about your kids and sports, and then I'm going to have you sit down in the car and touch the steering wheel, and it's not like that. This transaction requires more trust because you're literally buying sight unseen in a lot of these vehicles. And it's new. It's scary. Nobody really understands what's going on because it's something they haven't done yet. And it's something that you have to get comfortable with. Excuse me, is you have to get comfortable with as you go on. I feel like I'm missing a whole dimension of this because my face is not on the screen. But I'm just also afraid that if I put this on here, it's going to eat up all the space on the screen. And it did. So, whatever, we'll see how this works. Anyway, you can see everything here, and I'll try to move it around if I have to. This just makes me feel like like we're connecting on one-on-one level right now. So, anyway, so my camera's here, and the screen I'm looking at is here, so it requires more trust. It's more scary, it's new, it's different. Things are happening that you're not familiar with. There's a lot of what ifs. What if the car bursts into flames? What if it doesn't show up? What if it does show up and it's missing a door? There's a variety of hundreds of thousands of things that people get concerned about. Those concerns are generally, they're not present when you're purchasing at the dealership because, like going to Walmart, when you walk into Walmart and you find whatever toy or whatever item you're buying, you put it in your hands and it's tangible. It's here. I can look at it. I can see that this tangible object is right here and this is what it's going to be. The paradigm shift that happened with Amazon selling was huge and is huge. It's going to continue to change people's minds about buying and selling. When you purchase something on Manheim, usually there's reviews. You look at the reviews, you can read the reviews and feel it out. It answers a lot of the trust, a lot of the new, a lot of the scary, and certainly a lot of the what ifs. Because when I'm telling you, when my Amazon Prime package shows up, man, if it's the wrong color cardboard, I'm sending it back. It's so confidence inspiring to be able to have this package show up and go, yeah, this is the one I wanted, and this is exactly it. And if it's not, man, send it back. The worst thing that happens is you have to make something up and send the thing back. But those rules don't necessarily apply with auto sales. When we purchase these vehicles, there are certain reasons you can get out of them, but for the most part, when it gets there, it's going to be your situation. We'll talk about some of that down the road, but this is a very specific process and has very, very specific rules. You'll have to learn those rules. That's why I'm here. And don't let me dissuade you by talking about all the things that are going on with this and start feeling like there's this huge litany of problems that are going to come up. I'd like to touch on the cons a lot because I feel like the more you talk about it, the more comfortable people get with it, the better they feel about it. The appearance of extra costs and fees. Something happens in people's minds when they see somebody making a profit. It's almost like in this in the 2000s era, since say 2005 or 2008, the word profit has become like a bad word. If God forbid somebody finds out you're making money on something, because it immediately cuts into the soul, and they want to feel like they got over or something. You are paying for a product that is that vehicle, and you are paying for guidance that is me. I am that vehicle. My guidance will lead you to the right vehicle, and hopefully we're going to buy the right car at the right price, and down the road you're going to be in a better position when you sell it to have suffered less depreciation, which ultimately is what all rental car is about. It's just offsetting that depreciation and making somebody else pay for it. Car sharing is fantastic for that. These extra costs and fees are the commission. The commission you pay my business. Sliding scale, I'll go with that further down the road. There's auction fees. You got to pay the auction to buy the car. If you're not next to the auction, you have a transport fee, so you got to transport the car. We're only going to shop for cars in an area you feel comfortable getting. So if you're in Louisiana, we're not going to shop for cars in LA. That doesn't make sense. We want to get things that are in your area within a certain radius. If there's not an auction within 100 miles of you, and you're not comfortable purchasing from an auction, then we start looking at transportation costs. If you're not comfortable with transportation costs, then the method you have may be the best method, and this may not be it for you. The DMV situation is another question you run into a lot. There are probably 6.5 million different regulations at the DMV in Colorado Springs. Each DMV has its own rules and regulations, and each time I walk into them, I'm always amazed by the fact that these new rules and regulations aren't taught to anybody except the mean lady sitting behind the counter. So they're very well versed in making sure that you brought the wrong stuff to the show. And so every once in a while we have to jump through some hoops to make sure your DMV understands what we sent them and that the title isn't a situation where it had to, we changed the state, or if somebody came back with the wrong title, or it's not even really that. It's a time frame, really. So if the seller of the car took too long to get the title, we get behind the ball because we only have X number of days to get the title there. Probably one of the largest, one of the most numerous problems, am I saying this the right way? The problem we have the most is going to be related to title. Somebody wrote the wrong thing, somebody made an error, it wasn't transferred correctly, the people at the dealership did it wrong, the people at the auction did it wrong, one of my title clerks did it wrong. If there's going to be a problem, it's usually with the DMV. Maybe 1 out of 20 times we see some kind of problem with that. The next one here is the rental purchase program. The rental purchase program is where we actually purchase vehicles from Hertz, Avis, Dollar, Thrifty, National, Budget, Avis, Enterprise. We can purchase from all these companies. For the argument here, let's just say it's Hertz. Hertz is one of the easiest ones to purchase from. That's one we do the most of. They seem to be the fairest, the easiest to find the pricing on. And they really make. I've got a great. I'm trying to put this on the side here. I have a great rep there. I have a fantastic rep, and he really does a good job taking care of me. Let me try and make this work a little better. So I haven't had to shoot this in the angle in a while. So bear with me. I told you you were gonna have to bear with me. I warned you, right? So Hertz works fantastic. The majority of these cars were literally on the on the road just the other day. They come back. A lot of times you find the renter stuff in them still. Their contract is still in there, sunglasses or a shoe or something loony like that. For the most part, these cars show up ready to rent. I'd say probably, I don't know, 5, depending on when you buy them and the mileage, 5 out of 10 of those cars show up maybe needing tires. Hertz never has a spare key. It's always the only key. One key comes with the car for Hertz. That's it. So you always have to buy another key with Hertz. Just one of those things built in. Again, there's various guarantees that exceed what you're going to see anywhere else. Some of them are even better than the guarantees that we get through Manheim. Getting a deal unwound through Hertz for something that wasn't disclosed is much, much easier to do with Hertz than it is with say, Manheim or Odessa or any of the other options. And the cons are almost identical to the problems that we saw when we were talking about the Manheim purchases. So it's really a mental thing. It's once you get past the first or second purchase and everything goes fine, which 99 times out of 100 we have, maybe more than, I don't know, 399 times out of 400, we have 0 problems. Everything works exactly the way it's supposed to. It's just that one random time when something goes a little astray that is actually, we have way fewer problems dealing with this auction purchase program or rental purchase program than we actually do for counter sales. When people come into the dealership and walk out of there are many more problems with that because that has been, for years, that's been cultivated as a problem area. Dealing with a car dealer, your expectations are set a certain way, and at the very least, the expectations for this program, I try to set them pretty low. I mean, your expectation should be you get the car you thought you were going to get when it shows up, and it costs you less money. Nice and easy. When you don't deal with the coffee maker, and you're not dealing with the warranty sales and the F&I guy and all the stuff going on in the back there, the service department, and all the nightmare that's created by that, these programs are just much smoother. They're easier to deal with. And because we don't have to set up financing, there's none of that callback stuff where it's like, sorry, you didn't get financed, bring the car back. This is all your stuff. You take care of everything on that side. So when you talk about being your own dealer, I want to touch on this just a little bit. Move this so you can see. I want to touch on this just a little bit because realistically, your business model has to be pretty sharp when you start talking about opening your own dealership. you need to know if it's just for show, if you're just trying to set up a situation where you are going to be looking like a dealership for purposes, specific purpose of being able to buy and sell more cars, this is a very difficult model to follow. The only real way to get in and be your own dealer is to make sure it actually becomes a portion of your life, a portion of your job. Part-time dealers have a real hard time. If it's just for show, there are better ways in creating your own dealership. We've got some methods. Contact me on that kind of stuff. If you have an idea where you just want a dealer's license so you can have the just for show, I don't want a showroom and that kind of thing, I can talk to you personally a little better about that, because I don't really feel like needing a 3-hour-long video explaining the ins and outs of the ways we can make that work. If you're creating an actual place of business, you have got to create a business model. You have to create a business plan. You have to turn this into a real deal and talk about what are we going to sell, like specifically what cars are we going to sell, what year, what make, what model, what's our pricing, who are we going to sell to, who's our clientele, are we going to have something that we specially do, something there's a bunch of places in Colorado that are like, they're Subaru guys, because everybody in Colorado needs a Subaru, or so they think. So everybody goes out and buys a Subaru. These guys deal specifically in Subarus. So when you come into their lot and they got 36 Subarus and 2 Hyundai Accents that they took on trade, from the guy who bought a Subaru, is that what you're going to be? Are you going to deal in trucks or SUVs? What does your market need? How are you going to sell these cars? When we talk about clientele, are we talking about folks that are coming in and paying cash for cars? Are they using third-party finance? Is this going to be like a buy here, pay here, or lease here, pay here? That's what those little initials at the bottom mean. And specifically, are you going to create something that includes daily rentals? These are all models that we create on the regular. These are things that this is my specialty. When I started in 1993, I started behind a rental car counter, renting budget trucks and renting cars, and then moved on to actually incorporating the buy here, pay here, lease here, pay here stuff. We had, one of the largest lease here, pay here's on the western side of the country for a great deal of time, until we kind of slowed that down and decided that we wanted to reduce our risk and reduce our cash we had on the road. But there's a lot of money to be made there, and if you do it correctly, there's a lot of assistance out there. There's a lot of knowledge. There's a lot of people out there who can really help with this. Myself being one of them. It's all I've known since my buy here, pay here history goes back to about 1995. And actually, my buy here, pay here, or lease here, pay here, actually, it was the money that I created from that business is what I used to eventually purchase the business from the previous owner. So if you are interested, this is doable. We talk about business plan stuff. We talk about every aspect of how you're going to get there. We talk about the bonding requirements, your location, your cost versus income, your expense ratios. We talk about profit on per vehicle. There's a lot of aspects of the sales process that we really dig into. Since that's not necessarily the purpose of this video, this whole side here is just designed to kind of mirror and show the other side of what the other side of if you're not going to be a dealer. So this is something I just like to touch on while I'm going over the option purchase plan and rental purchase programs. And of course, policy and procedure. Policy and procedure in any business are key, and of course, if you're trying to be a dealer, it's very expensive. A lot of the hurdles that we see in opening your own dealership, whether or not you are connected to a rental car company, or it doesn't matter if you're buy here, pay here, or if you're a third-party finance, if you're a franchise dealer, everything that you see on this list here is what we've run into. First-generation dealerships, like I'm a first-generation dealer. My father wasn't a dealer. None of my family, well, my grandfather was a dealer, but I never met that guy. So I'm the first generation in my family that I know of that I've actually shook hands with or spoken to do this. It's difficult because the tricks of the trade are, you learn those coming up. I'm sure some of you out there had dealers as parents. or were involved in it as kids, and there's just certain things that you learn as you're going through it. It makes it a lot easier once you get there. Multiple generation dealerships, second most likely to die, because for the most part, car dealers suck. I mean, I hate them. I hate them, and I am one. And that's the tragedy of the situation is I am surrounded by a lot of these people who are the consummate car dealer. They are the problem. They're the issue on Yelp and every review system out there. I know these guys. I deal with them on a daily basis. And from day one, I told myself I was not going to be those guys. Car dealing is tough because there's just no way to learn a free lesson. Every single mistake you make goes through your wallet. Rental car business is a lot the same. You see a lot of the same problems that happen in the rental car business because, I mean, you're buying and selling cars anyhow, so you have got to be connected to the car dealer portion of that, or you fall prey to the same stuff. There's just no way to learn a lesson for free. Drink wake. So, oldest adage, the best way to make $1 million in the car biz is start it with $2 million, and that is a fact. It is very hard to find a business that's more cash flow intensive and more expensive than dealing with cars. Every aspect of your inventory, man, in Colorado, every time it hails, we're outside like, let's see what happens. I mean, the sky falls apart, and you get done, and you have 65 golf balls in the shape of cars sitting in front of your business, and that's an expensive way to learn. So you learn, I should have had better insurance, or whatever situation. And the last one here, riding a dinosaur. This is kind of an analogy that I put together years back. And the car business right now, I feel, is everybody's kind of riding a dinosaur. We don't know how quickly the dinosaur we're riding is going to be extinct, but at some point it's just going to drop dead underneath us. There literally is a million reasons why it's not going to be here a decade from now. There's fewer registrations going on. Millennials aren't buying as many cars. People are trying to spend less on cars, less on houses, less on weddings, less on everything that my generation and before had really coveted and said, this is what we're going to do. Electric cars are another thing that's coming. Car sharing is another thing that's happening. If they had car sharing in the 80s and 90s, the world would be completely different right now. And I don't believe that a lot of the dealership mentality that's out there now would be the same. It's kind of like the flying car thing when I was a kid. when you're watching the Jetsons or whatever and you see them in flying cars, and you're like, that's going to be amazing. It's still not here. I think I read an article that said the Jetsons is supposed to be in 2062, so I guess we got a few years for that. But it's flying cars, it's jetpacks. I don't have a jetpack, I'm still waiting for that. But for sure, riding a dinosaur it's valid. Like, there are so many things that are changing about the way we buy and sell vehicles and just manage our own cars, that this is something we're going to see a lot in the future. A lot of changes are coming. So let's go back to the auction purchase program and talk about that. We'll move this again. I'll just keep doing this, keep you awake. So here's what we talk about. Like, what do you want? Year, make, model, trim, options. What are you looking for? Are you looking for brand new big stuff? Are you looking for small stuff, minivans, SUVs? Whatever it is you feel like you're looking for, that's what we're going to talk about. And we can talk about how to find it on there and what models I like or don't like, or which ones I've had good experiences or bad experiences with. You need to know what you don't want more than what you do want. If there's a year, there's certain cars out there that had transmission problems for X and Y, these period of time. You need to know if that's something you do or don't want. So you have to have a little bit of investigative mindset. Consumer reports, websites. It's easy to go out there and search which cars have what problems. A lot of you folks are in Facebook groups, so you see us talking about these cars. Myself and many others out there talking about the cars that have particular problems. So we're talking colors, options, do you want leather, is it a two-door or four-door, four-wheel drive, front-wheel drive? Every option that's out there you need to consider. What do you want to spend? This is the super specific part of this. When you start looking at these vehicles, you need to have an idea, not of what you want to spend in relation to the value of the vehicle, NADA, Black Book, MMR, whatever. You need to have a great idea of what you want to spend dollar-wise. If you're trying to buy 5 $10,000 cars or 10 $5,000 cars, our mentality is going to be completely different when we start trying to talk to you about what you need to do and where you need to be. You know, how to search at the auctions, which lanes to look in, which sellers are best for you, what guarantees you can expect with that. Trust me, if you're buying $3,000 cars, your roll of the dice is going to be a much riskier proposition than if you're buying $10,000 cars. It's just the way of the world. Same thing if you're buying cars with 125,000 miles, you're going to see a bigger risk factor than if you're buying cars with 20,000 miles. This what you want to spend is very specific to that. And then transportation. You know, obviously if it's closer, it's going to be cheaper. If you don't have to pay transportation costs, that saves you money all around the board there. So let's talk a little about how it does work, maybe some more about how it works. We already know what you do and what you don't want, right? There's value consideration out there. There's some consultation we do on what we use, NADA, Kelley Blue Book, Black Book, MMR. The difference between NADA, KBB, and Black Book is, and MMR is Manheim Market Report is devised from sales of the vehicle, actual vehicle sales. When those vehicles are sold, that's logged into MMR, and it creates an average for that vehicle. I've got a piece here and show you. So this is a good example here of a vehicle that is 2016 Nissan Rogue with 35,000 miles. MMR on the car is 13.1. So you can see an average condition. If we go back to the average settings here, an average condition with 37,000 miles and a 3.7 CR, that's a condition report. More on that later. The car's worth $12,500. Well, maybe you go and you buy one that has 105,000 miles on it, and you can look in your region, it's northeast, and the grade is the 3.8. Well, now we know the vehicle value is $8,125. So this is what we use. This is one of the tools that we use. You can also look down here at the sales that have actually happened on the vehicles and sort them and see kind of what, you know, which ones. This one here did 12.1 with 18,000 miles. This one here with 27,000 miles did 13.3. You're seeing 25 out of 100 of these. So you can see all of them if you click here. So you can get really down and dirty with figuring out exactly what the valuation of the vehicle is. This is one of those great tools that we in the business use to know what we should and shouldn't be spending on vehicles. Kentucky windage is just, you know, the markets are up, the markets are down. Around Christmas time, the markets are down. Around tax return, they're up. In the summertime, they're down on SUVs, they're up on convertibles. You will start to learn, I definitely have learned when the markets are hot for certain vehicles and not on other vehicles. So what we do is we get you a Manheim login so you can start identifying these vehicles. You log into Manheim, you identify the vehicles you want by creating searches, and all based on your preferences. So there's a billion radio buttons. Full disclosure, it's not a billion. It's like 300. I don't know, maybe more. Your searches are created on your own preferences. You want an SUV, you want four-wheel drive, you want yellow, you want it leather, whatever you want. It's infinitely adjustable, so you can grind those tens of thousands of vehicles down to two. You know, I want this one in this color, and then whatever thing falls on it. This many miles, this value. You look at the condition reports on the things. Condition reports on the cars are essentially the inspection of the vehicle, what they know about that particular vehicle. I'm going to show you here what one looks like, but they start off at a 0 and they go to 5. 0 being the lowest, 5 being the highest. Here's a condition report here. So it's essentially an inspection that someone did of the vehicle. You can see this here. This is a 2014 Kia Forte. It's a 4.0 condition grade. It talks about some of the announcements. It's got one key. It talks about some of the dings and dents that are on the body. You'll learn more once we get involved with the process as to what each one of these things in here leads you to. It's got photos of each individual ding and dent and what you can expect when the vehicle shows up. Tire condition, any historical events. This does not show a Carfax, but you can pull your own Carfaxes on the vehicle because obviously they provide you the VIN number on it too. So this is what a CR looks like, condition report looks like. It's made up of photos of the vehicle, so you can see, you know, front shot, rear shot, interior, stereo, gauges, shows you the car is out of gas, no check engine lights, that kind of thing are on. It's got VIN photos, and that's like a cargo area shot. I don't know. Sometimes I think these guys are drunk when they do them, but what is this? What am I looking at? It's like a, oh, I see it. This is where the guy's elbow, or lady's elbow, probably a guy, upper elbow, I don't know, ground up the armrest. Who does that? I don't know. Maybe it's a parrot or something. Anyway, that's what a CR looks like. So, and there's a Manheim market report to help identify what prices you're going to pay for the vehicle. Showed you that. So we're going to talk about verifying your pricing strategy, what you want to spend, how many cars we're looking for, when you want to get aggressive, when you want to buy, when you want to have the vehicle purchased by, all the stuff that goes into the soup that makes you push the button and want to buy that car. And from there, we watch and wait. After you're done watching and waiting, you're going to submit your bid to me, and we're going to put a bid on the vehicle. And if we own the car, after the purchase is going to look something like this. You send money. Pretty easy. Certified funds. You can certainly mail or overnight a check, but here's the problem you run into. I can't release a title or a vehicle until that check clears. And I mean clears the bank, and my bank verifies it's done. Even in today's computer age, the quickest that stuff has happened is 3 days. And if it's over a weekend, it just takes longer. We're set up on every major platform where you can take credit cards or PayPal or whatever payment thing you want to do, but you are going to end up paying the fees on that. So if you want to go through PayPal and use your credit card or whatever, it's 2.9%, 3%, something like that. And that's subject to change. So that could be, it could go up or it could go down. Financing, boy, if you're financing these vehicles, you have got to have this stuff set up. Move me over here. There we go. If you're financing these cars, you need to have that financing set up before we go to purchase. If you have questions, contact me on the financing aspect of that. That's something I could spend 15 or 20 minutes talking about. Just make sure your financing is set up before we dive in. If we have to file the lien for your lien holder, it's going to cost, the commission is more, because that means we have to make multiple runs to the DMV. We have to do more stuff on our end. And I've got financing I can get set up. However, I wouldn't. There's some real questionable. I mean, there's solid finance companies, and I'm just going to disappear. But we don't write a whole lot of really good credit people. So we have a whole lot of really bad credit providers. So if you've got bad credit, we have really expensive ways we can get that car financed for you. I have yet to sell a vehicle on my wholesale programs to anybody who needs that kind of financing. It's just a bad deal. Just find your own financing. It's better than the stuff we have to offer. You know, I can sell you a warranty on the cars too. To date, I still have not. I've never sold a warranty on any of my wholesale vehicles. They're absurd. We make $1,000, literally $1,000, when we sell you this $1,500 warranty, because the warranties are almost free, and they provide garbage. The majority of them are horrible. The peace of mind that they give you is completely offset by the roulette that you're playing, because realistically, they're betting the car isn't going to break, and you're betting it is. And with the way they have it set up, 9 times out of 10, they're right. So we're going to send you over a purchase order. You sign it. You return that thing via email, nice and easy. We are going to either, if you want to go pick up the vehicle, you can always pick it up at the auction. That's easy enough to do. Or we can have it delivered. You know, cost is all that. It just depends on what you want to pay. We're going to overnight a temp tag to you, so the next day you'll have that tag sitting there. And then when we get your title work, we'll send that out usually second day, which is much better than you would hope to find anywhere else for a dealership kind of thing. They're not going to do that. And then the DMV, that's where the party really starts. So we're going to send you everything required by the state of Colorado for us to sell a vehicle out of state. You are probably going to have to go deal with a couple paperwork items at the DMV, other forms you have to fill out at your DMV that are specific to your state. Colorado doesn't have the form if you live in Massachusetts to register your car. Same with Ohio or Texas or Tokyo or wherever you're registering the car. We don't have that form. The guarantees on this, there's some conditional sales, and they're based on the color of the light. There's a light literally behind the auctioneer when they're selling these cars. 3 lights. Red is as is. If that car breaks in half, you own both halves. It's all you. Yellow is just as a caution announcement, and there might be a frame announcement, it might be title announcement, it might be something like that. And then a green light is what they call a ride and drive. That's an age-old industry-specific term that just means you can feel good about driving this car because there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, there's always something wrong with it because the car is a car, but this is one that has the arbitration guarantee on it, so there's no single repair required on the vehicle in excess of $500. We always recommend a post-sale inspection. This is, depending on how much you spend on the vehicle, the cost of this inspection goes anywhere from $90 to $190 bucks. I think it might be cheaper than that if it's a real cheap car, and it might be more expensive than that if you're buying an $80,000 car or something like that. It covers a prescribed number of days, usually 7 or 14 days, and they inspect a variety of items on it. When they inspect the items, they also cover items that are not inspected, and that's part of the guarantee. So they didn't check the wheel bearings, but if the hub falls apart and it's more than $500 to repair, then they cover that item. So I will provide you a copy of the NAAA arbitration policy before you make your first bid so you can read it and be familiar with it. So how does this all work? Let's see, move this to a good place. What keeps me from just stealing your money? Quite honestly, oh, that's a reminder I have to pick up my kids and go to gymnastics fairly soon. So we'll wrap this up in the next couple minutes. What keeps me from just stealing your money? Look, we have a $50,000 dealer bond. We've been in business since 1989. We have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. We have no problems with BBB. I have no previous issues on history of breaking the law. Not breaking the law, I mean, but no real problems with the law. Speeding tickets, that kind of thing. We are 100% compliant with any state regulations, state requirements. I can't find a place to put myself here. I'll put it back over here. So we've been inspected by the state multiple times, state of Colorado, which is where we're licensed to sell. So everything you receive will be from the dealership in Colorado. You don't have to be nationally licensed or anything like that. There's no such thing. But you will be receiving it from a actual licensed Colorado dealership. Soon enough, perhaps a North Carolina dealership. I may have 2 dealerships here in a little bit since we moved to North Carolina. And I'm just too easy to find. I mean, I'll send you my home address. You can swing by. We can drink beer. The industry is very familiar with me. The rental car industry, the used car industry, the buy here, pay here industry. I've presented multiple times at multiple conferences. It would be too easy to, or too difficult to disappear. I just can't. So the costs on this are your auction fees. They vary by state. Certain Manheims charge more. There's a purchase price. There's a sliding scale based on purchase price, and that's estimated between $250 to $500. Sometimes it's more. If you buy a really expensive car, you can spend more. The minimum, I'm not sure they even have a minimum auction purchase price anymore, or auction fee anymore, but I know it's all sliding scale. So you can incur some transportation costs if you buy something that's further away than what you're used to, or than what's close to your house. And then when you get to DMV, that's where you're going to pay your registration fees and your sales tax. We don't handle any sales tax aside from the ones that are required in Colorado. So if you purchase a vehicle in Colorado, then we will collect applicable state taxes. But if you're outside of Colorado, you are going to end up paying your own sales tax. So what do I do if I end up with a total piece of junk? You got to do your research. You really have to do your research. I'm not psychic, neither are you, because you have a feeling, because the mojo for this car just makes you feel right, and I got to have that BMW with 120,000 miles. Something could go wrong there. So keep in mind that this business is not made of gut feelings. It is made of hard decisions, real hard, fast decisions that have to do with investment level strategies. This is tens of thousands of dollars you could potentially be spending on cars. You can't guess on these things. The best way is buy newer cars with better CRs. I mean, don't buy a 2000 whatever minimum 2008 Hyundai Elantra with 129,904 miles on it and a 1.3 CR and think it's going to show up looking like there's nothing wrong with it. This is how it works. Sometimes, man, it's just bad luck. And usually if it's bad luck, there's something we can fall back on. I purchased a lot of cars that have no warranties, as is cars. And I mean, when you do something like, when you buy a car that has no guarantee, you own it. But if you buy a vehicle with a sale guarantee or something we put a post-sale inspection on, yeah, most of the time something is covered. There's always times when something shows up and it's below that threshold of $500. Maybe it shows up and the AC doesn't work. If it's under $500 to recharge the thing, that's going to be on your pocket. So it's certainly the potential for something to be wrong when it shows up that isn't listed, that is under that $500 threshold that you would be responsible for paying for. Again, my goal in this deal is to make a little bit of money and to help out some folks that are in the sharing industry. I know too many of you guys, and I watch you guys spend way too much money on too many occasions. The goal of this program is to try to get you guys up to speed so you can be in a better position to depreciate your asset and in a better position when you sell it. So if you need to resell a car that you bought that's just not working out, anything that you bought from me, I will run back through the auction and I won't charge you a penny to sell it. You run it back through the sale, you're going to pay the Manheim fees to sell it. I charge everybody a fee, but you're not going to pay me. So if you do get a problem, a lot of times the best way to fix that mistake is to sell it to somebody in a retail environment. I mean, you paid cheap money for the car. Now, you were the highest bidder in a group of dealers, but trust me, the highest bidder in a group of dealers most times is the lowest bidder in a group of retail buyers. So a car that you paid $5 grand for at the auction is almost certainly worth more than that in some sort of retail environment. So Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, any of the selling apps that are out there, they're always worth more money somewhere else. Our commissions look a little bit like this. I keep moving to the side here, move myself over. Oh, there we go. Under 400 bucks, 10%. From 400 to 10,000 bucks, $500. You can read it. I don't need to read all this over to you. If you're buying cars over $30,000, we have a couple of deals, a couple of folks that we broker through who are buying big dollar Lamborghini, Ferrari, Porsche stuff, $100,000, $200,000 cars. When we start talking big dollars, we list 3% of purchase price. Obviously, we try to put a cap on this thing because if you're buying a $200,000 car, that's a big chunk of change to be paying out of commission. So these are guidelines. I will always negotiate on these prices if we're dealing with multiple vehicles or if you've been a customer for a long time. So yeah, that works very well. So my phone just rang. Tragically, I'm going to have to pause this thing. All right, we're back. Only a second or two went by. I'm still wearing the same clothes. This is what our auction purchase program commissions look like. When we start talking about the rental purchase program, real easy. It's very similar to the other programs out there. We purchase from a variety of major car rental companies. This is a great place to get more cars. So if you're trying to buy cars in bulk, if you need 10 cars, this is a much faster way to do it. They're a little bit more expensive doing it this way, but the convenience of being able to nail down a truckload of cars overnight is incredible. It helps, and particularly if you're dealing with, sizable fleets. If you've got a 100-car fleet or something, you need to pick off 5, 8, 15 cars. This is a better way to do it. Steps are super similar. We make an offer to these companies and see if we can get the cars bought for the number we want to pay. The guarantees on a lot of these cars are actually better than what we find at the auction. I've got a way to unwind these deals most times. If something shows up and it's not what it's supposed to be, my reps will either take care of some price adjustment, or they'll just unwind the deal if there's something that we're just too far apart on. There's no arbitration per se, but because we have a good relationship with all these retail sellers, Hertz, Avis, Dollar Thrifty, we generally we have a pretty good negotiating power there. The sale fees are much less. Just depending on the location where we're buying them from, they range anywhere from $80 to $250. Some of them are more expensive once the car arrives at the auction because they actually have to pay the auction for it. But a lot of the times they'll make that up to us in the purchase price. And of course, just ask me. If you need a rental direct purchase plan PDF, I'll send that over. If you need a PDF for the auction purchase plan, send that over too. So this pretty much ends this recording. If you have any questions, let's see, it's a PowerPoint. So usually I'd be standing up in a group of people, or I would be doing this with a pile of folks online and answering just a bunch of questions via keyboard or via messenger. So get a hold of me. Easy stuff to do. If you have questions, again, my email address is sean@csusave.com. I'm easy to find. I'm not going to put my phone number on here because it gets crazy with people watching YouTube videos calling you out of nowhere. So get a hold of me, message me through YouTube, or like and subscribe or share or whatever you need to do. That's it. That's as hard as it's got to be. Thanks for spending this time with me, and watch some more videos. Give me some suggestions, anything you'd like to hear, anything we can talk about. I'd like to do some of these. I'd like to do more of these live, but my schedule lately has really been complicated, and I think it's complicated partially by the fact that I've kind of tried to stop working at night now because my family really appreciates when I'm around instead of being on the phone or sitting in my office at 9 o'clock at night. So, all right, everybody have a great day or night or wherever it is, whatever it is where you're at. Thanks, guys.